We back. Started Five Podcast. This time presented by Bluff City Media Podcast Network as we making transition over to Bluff City Media. Still with Grizzlies Bear Blues, still rocking and rolling. Remember to subscribe to Bluff City Media on YouTube. And allow me to reintroduce myself for those who don't know and new to, as we are new to Bluff City Media. I am the one, P Shark.
Even though we're transitioning, everything's still staying the same on my end. I'm at _Skylato.
Dylan 316 says, I don't need no shirt. What's good, everybody? This is your 3&D guy, Trevor.
No, you do need a shirt. You need to say Dylan Brookso, ISO Brookso, whatever we called you. It's really shitty. Big fella, what's happening?
I'm just hoping that he don't go 3 for 16 down this stretch, but that's me. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? At Tab Shakir, at your service.
I hope he ain't averaging 3 and 16.
I mean, technically, he got his 16 foul, and we'll talk about that. So,
we'll talk about his 16 tech. So, yeah.
Averaging 3 points a game, 16 takes a season. Look, man.
No, he get too many field goals to himself. They only average 3 points.
I mean, he has had games,
right.
But we come in peace.
Yes, sir. Yes, we do. But man, started off, of course, on a more serious note. Man, you've been sleeping on a rock. I don't think anybody has, because Ja Morant has made headlines throughout the entire nation over this past weekend, really the last month or so. But just going down timeline, Indiana Pacers game, I think it was earlier last month or end of January. The whole ordeal with his brother and that whole deal with the Pacers staff or whoever got to with the players on the Pacers. Then the story coming out about what happened last summer at Ja's house with the high school player. Then last week, that story getting resurfaced again, but this time involving a gun potentially. Ja Morant may have had a gun on his waist. Then another story, a finish line story of his mama getting to a finish line employee and calling Ja and him up, coming in 9 deep. That's another story that came out that happened last year. All of this, Ja Morant got his lawyers, they fighting, yada yada. Then you come to Saturday morning after somewhat embarrassing loss, after being tired going to the fourth quarter against the Denver Nuggets and losing by like 20. Ja Morant at the strip club, and what appears to be a gun, could be a lighter, as some people have referenced it, and some guns look like lighters and everything. But he posted this on his yes. And I googled this guy. They look like
I've seen him before.
I feel both of them gonna have some fire coming out though. I got you
right. Stop. But yeah, so Ja Morant posted this Instagram story, and this is the whole talk all of a Saturday, right? And then eventually comes news out there. Ja Morant is leaving the team for 2 days, and he does come out with a statement apologizing and everything going forward. So I just want to just lay it out. We got a day. We passed the day. Let's see where everybody's feelings are at today and just about the whole situation and what are y'all feelings about everything that's transpired with Ja Morant?
In some ways, I kind of feel sorry for him. I think sorry for him because I think what I would like for us to realize is that nobody's perfect. We've all made mistakes before in our younger days, and we got to think about it. Ja Morant is even 25 at this point. Yeah, he's only 23, and so like I said, we've all made mistakes. Now, granted, some of the mistakes are bigger than others, and I think with him having the spotlight and the platforms that he has, I think some of the things that he's doing that he probably would want to keep behind the curtain or in the dark, it's coming to the light. So I'm saying that I hope as days and weeks come and go that he can understand the magnitude in which he's put himself in and start to kind of take a road that leads to the success that he's already had, right? You talk about the endorsementships that he's gotten. I think he has Nike, he has Powerade, he has multiple other endorsements. And so I don't want there to be a 30 for 30 series in the next 8, 10, 15 years to where we see the rise of Ja Morant, but then we see the fall of Ja Morant because of some of the issues or the mistakes that he's made. So I'm just going to say that as somebody who has made mistakes before, that I just hope that he can surround himself with better people, which then will make him make better decisions. So that way he can continue to provide for himself and his family as well too. So I think in his statement that he mentioned that in some form or fashion, I think he's dealing with things mentally because he's got so much going on. So I think so much is coming at him. And so I just hope he takes these next, couple of days, along with the team help too. I hope he can take these next couple of days and games away from the team so that way he can get himself in a better state of mind for sure. So, hey, all of this is happening to him, especially for somebody that seems like, he's homegrown in the city of Memphis. He's only been here for a couple of years, but it seems like he grew up here. So I'm hoping that things turn around for him for sure. So that way he can continue the success that he already has.
Yeah, I'll keep my point brief because I'm pretty sure everyone has the same thing to say pretty much. So I'll add to that and just pretty much say, man, prayers go out to him. I hope whatever is going on, if there is a mental issue, if it's stress and anxiety, man, just take as much time as you need to try to get yourself well. There comes a notion, man, when you have this platform that you've generated for yourself, being a black man of this status, there's always this notion to, hey, never forget where you come from, which is true, but there are certain ways to handle that and go by that. Like, just because you leave the hood don't necessarily mean you got to take it with you, man. And no one's going to think of you any different if you act this way or act that way. Like, we know what you can do on the basketball court, and it's generated all this. Like, Memphis has probably been in the national spotlight probably for the first time in a long while as far as the Grizzlies is concerned, and that's all thanks to you. And you don't have to keep the hood tendencies in you, man. Like, it's cool, but at some point, in some shape or form, that's gonna have to be let go. All of us have made mistakes in some shape or form at 23. I mean, it's just a part of growing up. And just hopefully he's taking this time to really evaluate, to Skylar's point, the magnitude at which how he's handling these things and the magnitude to what's going on now. And hopefully he can get back in time. And this redemption arc is probably going to be something to see going forward for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, not going to bore you all with what we kind of just discussed as well. I think my most important piece that I think I will regurgitate at this time is Ja Morant's number one job right now after himself is his daughter. And the image that you portray will also be onto your family as well. And what I'm saying is when Eva gets of age, she wants to see her father in a good light. When Aiden and Alea get of age, I don't want them to look back 10, 15 years from now and say, like, dang, my daddy was on social media with a gun or a lighter or whatever it was, because I don't want to put myself in that situation. And even thinking about as close as Russell Westbrook was and his family and the things that his children have to go through and suffer through because of how the national spotlight looks at athletes really underneath a microscope. If he's not an NBA basketball player, if he's some, I don't know, it doesn't even matter what he does. It's not even glorified to this magnitude. But because he is that, it's like you really have to tread lightly on what you do. Unfortunately, John, they're not going to talk about all the times that you've been in Memphis, handing out dinners and doing the community service that you've done for continuous amounts of years. They're not going to highlight what you do on your off days. They're not going to highlight that. And I'm not sorry about that. At this point, you have to learn what media is about. And media is going to look for the smallest negative thing to amplify everything that you do. But again, my concern right now, after his health, is mental self, right? Because if you are not yourself, you cannot pour into anyone else, is his daughter. Because again, I don't want her to have to grow up or have to go through something at her school or around her friends, making fun of her because of decisions that her dad has made, not decisions that she's made. She cannot control what her dad does.
Yeah, I think what he's going through is like an identity crisis. That's what we're seeing this young man go through. He's been in the league 4 years, and he's about to make even his next contract for just next year alone it's life-changing money for him, his family, next future generations. So what, growing up, it was always you make the bag and money amplifies who you are. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to say that, we've seen the Ja's not from the hood, Ja's from, so-and-so, but we've seen certain neighborhoods in Memphis be quote unquote white, suburban, whatever. And now they got, the same people that Ja Morant, has an influence on. So Shitty, you brought up the fact that media plays a huge part. I think media plays way more big of a part than what it means. And what I mean is that, I made the fact that Allen Iverson to me is the most influential basketball player to ever play the game. But when he came into that, that media conference and gave the whole rant about practice, his brother just died. So, what I'm saying? If one of y'all would have passed away, God forbid, I'm not coming to pod on the next week. Matter of fact, I may take a couple weeks off out of one, respect for my brother, and two, I'm mourning. Y'all expect for this guy to come to practice after that, but we don't hear none about that. There's people that are probably listening to this podcast and know, oh, that's why. Because the media it is that powerful. So if you ask the average basketball fan, name their top 5 influential, not best, just the way of influence the game, Iverson is nowhere in the conversation. That's what the game Ja Morant is coming into. You done got a bag from Powerade, or you getting one from Powerade, you getting one from Nike, you're about to sell a whole bunch of shoes, and your influence is way bigger than a lot of NBA players right now. In fact, I put Ja Morant as one of the most influential players in the game right now, even though he's 4 years in. So, of course, guns legal to have. You're having a good time at a strip club. Do what you got to do, but be aware of your surroundings, A, and 2, be aware of the timing, bro. Like, the timing in this couldn't have been any worse with all this coming out. So now we got him suspended for 2 games. Granted, the Grizz got literally the easiest schedule ranking remaining, so we don't have to worry too much about that. But this 2-game suspension could end up being more if all of this evidence coming against you comes out to light. So just going forward, of course, we all make mistakes, making mistakes now, but redeem yourself afterward. You know what I'm saying? So,
man, really, really great points by everyone. And what I'm gonna take with it is, I feel like it's a blessing in disguise, right? He's 23. Despite everything that's went on, and just really let me go back to just like beginning. Well, about a month ago, I came across information. You know people. Memphis is a big, small city, and you just know people that know people. When my coworkers asked me what you think about your job, that's after the whole Indiana Pacers story broke out, and my coworker, what you think about your stuff with job? Like, I don't really know too much. I try to stay out of. I wasn't there. I'm not part of his crew, right? I don't know his stuff, so I try not to really find out. On my other coworkers, hey, he knew someone that was at the whole thing last summer with the high school guy, and I'm like, oh, okay. He told me more news that, oh wow, okay, and Ja Morant is getting to some stuff, right? So then I tell y'all, and I'm like, hey, this is what I heard, but I'm gonna say is I just hope for the best, hope that he turns around if it is true, and like I said, you're still kind of questioning, like, man, rumors. I'm not really a rumor person, but Scouter said something. Your name says it all right now. Truth hurts, because you had said, you know what, there's some truth to that. Like, these rumors don't come out of nowhere. And I was like, you're right. Like, it's not, you don't just hear stuff out the blue, right? And that's why I like the finish line story. Some of the stuff Ja been saying, or people been saying, oh, this is fishy. I'm like, it might not be totally true, but it's some truth in it. Like, something happened in these situations, and for whatever reason, he's putting himself in these situations, or and getting himself involved with the wrong people. So just like bringing forward and just seeing everything that's transpired, it's like, wow, I was hoping that this wasn't it. Like, he really wasn't like getting involved and doing all these different things, but it turned out to be true. But the blessing in disguise piece comes in that he finally apologized. He did apologize in this thing, but he finally made a statement that provided some clarity. Like, he apologized, provide some nutrition, because everything that happened, oh, hold on, man, we've been cleared, this, that. He kind of like been avoiding it, saying, nah, that was Cal, this stuff like that. And this was the first time he finally like said, okay, I finally accept what's happening. I'm trying to better myself. I'm gonna do better moving forward. And that's why I was glad to finally see that, because we've been getting on him about social media stuff, about this NBA stuff over the last couple of years. And it's like, just get rid of your social media, because it feels like it feels like it's a hindrance on you. And stress, players at his level can get stressed. Like, he was young, he's getting paid millions of dollars, but just because they get paid millions doesn't mean that they ain't got mental.
Shark, can I ask you this? We actually talked to Savage about this. Yeah. Does it matter? Like, let's say Ja Morant does delete his social media, and this is a question everybody can answer. Does it matter? Will it matter if we see him doing the same things on somebody else's social media page?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely think that matters. In my opinion, you didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
All you did was just change whose account it was under. That was it.
Right. And that's saying, like, oh, my bad, you have.
I think the way you want to ask that too is if someone else would have maybe been recording it possibly in the post. Is that what you mean?
No. I mean, like, going forward. Like, let's say even next week, Ja Morant in the club, kind of doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. But it's not on his social media page. Somebody else didn't sneak.
Like recorded him but tagged him, right?
Right. So it's like, are we seeing who he is, or are we just seeing a trick moment? You know what I'm saying?
I think with the stories, all these different stories that are coming out leading up to this, it's showing who he is or who he's trying to be. Or, like I said, he's young. He's 23. He's going through, what we all went through at a younger age, peer pressure, right? And no matter how much money you make, the people you're around, the people that you surround yourself with, it's peer pressure. Sheedy, I think he was about to say something. My bad if I regret to cut you off.
Nah, you good. Highlight. But I mean, like, after this situation, yes, it would matter. I would say definitely, because to your point that someone else made, like, has he learned his lesson, so to speak, about what he does? But but the other flip of the coin, I'm not faulting you for going out and doing whatever it is it may be. What I'm saying to you is understand the eyes are not just in the club, they're all around. And so even just taking a drink, someone can misconstrue you taking one drink, like, oh, Ja Morant was drunk at the bar yet again. And it's just about perception. When you give people just that centimeter, ladies and gentlemen, just a centimeter smaller than an inch, by the way, they're going to take that mile. And it's how do you brand yourself in that time, and where do you go? Like, I was educated in Memphis. I'm still educated here in Dallas. I'm not going to go around and be drunk or whatever everywhere I was in Memphis or even in Dallas, because I have a reputation as, one, a man, two, a father and husband, and three, I work for a company. And so I don't want there to be negative association with my company and my organization because, that's what they do over in North Hills. They just be getting drunk all the time. Look at their teachers. And so I think that's also a mindset shift that I've had that I would hope that he has as well, whether it comes from his account or someone else's account.
Scatter, you got something?
Yeah, and I think to take a step further, even from what Shady was saying, I think one thing that I think that is embarrassing for him is, one, like, his teammates have to answer for some of his actions. And I don't think you ever want to put people that you work with in a situation where they're having to answer for things that you are doing away from the job or whatever the case may be. So I guess it's good to see him put that press release out there. It's good to see he's on to his mistakes. But I think at the end of the day, not only does he owe himself an apology, he owes his family an apology, but he owes his teammates who, talk very, very highly of him in public and behind closed doors. So he owes them an apology as well, too.
Yeah, and I like that Nike didn't just cut him loose. Nike made the tweet and they backed him up, right? Right. And I was glad to see that. Like, made a mistake. Luckily, and we're blessed, nothing happened. Nobody got shot. Nobody got killed. Nothing has happened, right? That's why I say it's a blessing in disguise that this did come out. Ja do need to learn how to, and it's a lot of players, earlier, younger players. We talked about the Alabama situation. And I remember right after we talked about it on our Let's Be Real podcast, which check us out on there, Let's Be Real Sports on YouTube as well. Right after, we recorded last Saturday, right after that, Bryson Miller, he had during the Alabama game. I'm pretty sure he do this in his warm-ups every time. They do the little pat down, like the gun. After this stuff that comes out about you potentially getting a teammate the gun, all this stuff, that You got it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's kind of what Ja did in the sense that, this news come out and now, you brought out a gun on this teenager. Then you do this on social media. Like, read like read the room, knowing like, hey, this is not the time to do that. But I think like I said, I think it's blessing in disguise. Trevor, did you have something?
Nah.
Okay. Cool. Now, past that news, back to the basketball court. Some other stuff happened in the Denver Nuggets game Friday night. Brandon Clarke tore his Achilles, which means not only is he out for this season, he's out for next season pretty much, right? So you got to replace him for the next season and a half. But I'm a project manager, my main job. My boss always says, don't come to him with problems, come to him with solutions. So we know the problems. We know Brandon Clarke is hurt. We know the problems he presents without being there. And the point of hopping on there and speaking on it, let's get to the solutions. How do the Grizzlies solve Brandon Clarke being missing the rest of the season with the rotation?
I think they should start off by, when I say they, I think there needs to be a conversation between upper management and the head coach and the team. Because what I don't understand is, like, I think part of my frustration with this season, and I kind of feel like last season too, I think we've kind of all said it in a sense, and I know Savage says it quite often, but like, what's the plan? Like, when we have the team that we have, when we've had the record that we've had the past 2 seasons, sometimes it just comes off as if like the team or the organization is not trying to seize the moment. And when you have the team that you have, when you have Ja Morant, when you have Triple J, when you have the team that they have, when you have the roster that they have, I just feel like there have been times where they have not seized the moment and tried to say, okay, this was probably initial plan, going into training camp, going into the regular season, but things have changed. And so now that things have changed, how are we going to adapt or operate, under these circumstances? And I'm saying that to say, Taylor Jenkins said in his press conference that essentially all the players on the team or on the roster are slotted or given a certain amount of minutes each game. And that's frustrating a little bit to hear because, again, that's going back to the moment, me saying seizing the moment and circling that Denver Nuggets game where you were in that game. For the most part, you showed that you were the better team for most of the game. And the Denver Nuggets go on a run and we see players that are in the game. I'm like, dude, Jokic is going off. Jamal Murray is going off. We're gonna let our starters sit on the bench. We're gonna just let this run keep happening. And so that's my frustration. And so Shark, I'm going to answer your question here shortly. Is they have got to understand. They have got to understand that we have a product in the palm of our hands, and we aren't capturing the moment. We aren't seizing the moment by pivoting or changing what we did or what we said at the beginning of the season. They've got to get on the same page. And right now they aren't on the same page. Being on the same page is saying we have the number 2 team in the West. We've now lost Brandon Clarke. How are we going to essentially replace Brandon Clarke, but not even replacing him? How are we going to make sure we maximize everything that we can get out of with this team? And if that means we got to get out of the cadence of only playing Ja and Jaren X amount of minutes, sometimes we got to do that. If that means you got a tie game with the Denver Nuggets going into the fourth quarter and Ja Morant usually sits the first 4.5 minutes of the game, put him in the damn game. Let him at least ride the first 3 or 4 minutes. I think that's the frustrating part is there are times people get minutes on this team. You be like, bro, we good on John Conchar. Like, let's see somebody else. That's my problem. And so to answer your question, Sharky, they've got to get on the same page. The management of the team, the coaching staff, and the players. And I just feel like everybody's not on the same page.
Well, to Skyler's point, and that's 100% correct, but just from a structural standpoint on how this team will replace Brandon Clarke, it's really simple. You just got to get Steven Adams back. Xavier Tillman has been playing well as of late, so you kind of would expect his minutes to go up. And I'm sorry, but I need more David Roddy minutes. Like, to Scott's point, I've had enough of John Conchar. I don't know what David Roddy has done to consistently end up in the doghouse, but probably since the All-Star break, when he has gotten minutes that hasn't been garbage time minutes, he's been pretty much effective. So I would like to see his minutes go up. They've already called up Zaire from the hustle as well, so I'm pretty sure he's going to be getting some minutes as well. So we'll see what that looks like. But essentially for the Grizz is just getting Steven Adams back, and then if Xavier Tillman can keep up the play that he's been on this as of late, the Grizzlies can turn this whole thing around.
I wonder how patient the Grizzlies will be with Zaire. And will they be as patient with Zaire as they've been with Jaren Jackson Jr.? And that's a question. But however, like immediate response is, one, this team was already missing Steven Adams tremendously on both ends of the court. And so right now, with everything going on in BC going down, it's just like another jab. And we're on the verge of looking at, we're game and a half behind or ahead right now, of the Kings. But, that can go either way. Dylan Brooks is out next game. And so we need to put together not only just wins, but like lineups that will be working in the playoffs. And so to answer your question, I don't know who gets called. I mean, we've mentioned these names, we've seen them, but it's going to be a permanent thing from the rest of this season, playoffs, and the start of next season as well. I'm really glad to see Xavier Tillman getting better, to be honest, as a force and how many minutes he can produce, just off the bench himself, with or without Brandon Clarke there. But man, I really, really want to know what is the plan for Zaire.
That's literally a question I had, Sheedy. So thank you for bringing that up, because I think this is going to be a pressure moment in Zaire's career. And what I mean by that is that we have, we do have teams that do trade away former first round picks, within 3-4 years, or release them, whatever the case may be. So, Brandon Clarke is definitely easily one of my favorite Grizz players on account of he does the dirty work. He's getting the extra rebounds. He's running the floor hard. He's playing defense. And I think that Zaire Williams can be in a position to do what he does. It's just a matter of if he's actually going to do it. I think the same case can be said for Xavier Tillman. Xavier Tillman defensively got the potential to do some good things. I ain't gonna say great things, but to play your role as far as like the defender, the 1 through the 5, because he can do it, and rebounding better. That's all literally we can ask for. So I think this is going to be more pressure on those two players, and if anything, as far as like replacing what Brandon Clarke can do, because losing Brandon Clarke hurts. I don't think there's one solid player that can come in and do exactly what he does, but it may take 2 or 3 players, to make up their energy just a little bit to do things without the ball to make this team, still succeed. But losing BC definitely hurts.
So I have 2 answers to this question. One, also, correction, earlier I said Bryson Miller is Brandon Miller. I don't know how mispronounced his name for Alabama. But
when the Titans win a quarterback, that's what you're trying to say, pressure.
I was thinking of Bryson Tiller.
Okay, keep it moving.
What a troll.
Stop.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
But going back to the question, my answer to the question at hand, it's 2 answers because Steven Adams is not back yet. And so my second answer is Steven Adams. With Steven Adams back, my first answer would before Steven Adams gets back. So Tillman slots in Santi, and you're missing the 2 other bigs. I believe David Roddy, the time is coming, because he has he's built and big enough to kind of be like a PJ Tucker type at the 4. So you can really play small lineups with him being at the 4 and still play your beloved John Contra Taylor Jenkins, So because he gonna play, I've given up, on that tangent.
Well, we say Shooter's gonna find a way to be on the court, bro. Or
yes, sir. But yeah, I think before that's the, I'm not even about to address it. But you still got Jaren Jackson, Xavier Tillman, Santi, and David Rodgers to slide in as the front court 4. And then when Steve Adams gets back, Xavier Tillman wasn't part of the rotation, right? Before it was Brandon Clarke and Santi Aldama come off the bench behind Steven Anderson and Jaren Jackson. So Xavier Tillman just replaces Brandon Clarke's minutes, which is fine, especially the way he's played lately and seeing the growth out of him, seeing early in the season where he said, I want to go down to the G League and volunteer to go down to the hustle to still work on his game and come back and just seeing how he's playing now. So he's just a perfect utilization player, utility player that somebody goes down, he can come in, and now he's going to be part of the rotation. I wish, and see, I know the little disabled player exception rule, they have that, but what I'm reading is teams have the January 15th to apply for it, and they got to use it by March 10th. So I don't know if the Grizzlies could qualify for that. But if they could, if something could happen, they could with this late injury. DeMarcus Cousins is out there, and veteran. They still missing that veteran piece. DeMarcus Cousins did make that tweet yesterday about Ja. Look at Boogie getting more sophisticated out here. I'd love to get DeMarcus Cousins in just to get you that veteran presence, somebody else another big man, period, that you could have that you can utilize.
Ain't nothing wrong with Captain America neither.
You don't want to call Dwight Howard?
Both of them.
Dwight Howard in Taiwan?
Captain America either, man. And for those who don't know who Captain America is, I'm talking about Melo. So
Hello.
What about Superman? Superman?
I guess when are they season over in Taiwan yet?
I have no idea.
Bro, what did it matter?
And the white can shoot. Woo!
I know Boogie can shoot.
Okay.
Yeah, we know Boogie's a bucket regardless.
Oh man, but going to our last segment, our last topic. I kind of alluded to it anyway around Taylor Jenkins and everything going on. But fourth quarter, like we alluded to with the new Denver Nuggets game, this is a continuing trend throughout his rotations. You could say it's a player, you could say it's a roster issue, you could say it's a coach issue. It's a little bit of both, but man, I just don't trust Taylor Jenkins in these situations. He has to improve. But once again, like I said earlier, not come with problems, come with solutions. What can the Grizzlies do to correct these fourth quarter woes?
So as I mentioned earlier, I think he has to find a way. I think I'm seeing too many times where Ja and Jaren are sitting at the same time. That annoys the crap out of me. You got to find a way to at least have one of them on the floor at the same time, and especially to start the fourth quarter, especially when you have the likes of Denver on the road or Phoenix on the road or something like it, or even if it's a home game, like one of those top tier teams where those wins matter. You got to find a way to win those games. And so I think starting there, making sure that either Ja or Jaren is on the floor at the same time. And then also even with the addition of Luke Kennard, I still don't see too many times where I see the lineup of Ja, Des, Luke, Jaren, and whoever, if you want to put Dylan and Santi at 4, then do that. But I really want to see more of those lineups. Luke Kennard is literally shooting the cover off the ball. Now granted, I feel like Desmond Bain could be a little bit better. He's been really streaky over the past couple weeks. Like he'll get you a 30-point game here or there, or he'll go 5 of 8 in a game here or there, but it's not as consistent as we saw at the beginning of this season, and we saw, several times last year. But I think it's got to be a lineup adjustment that he has to at some point change. I'm tired of seeing John Contar. So he's got to switch up his lineups a little bit more. He's got to see if Tyus has the hot hand today, or if David Roddy has the hot hand, or whoever the case may be, if Santi has the hot hand. Like you ride with that, and it just seems like it's just too many times where one of those players will have a good first half, and then you just don't see or don't hear from them at all in the second half. So, I think sometimes like Taylor Jenkins is good, drawing your plays and getting buckets for, coming out of a timeout. But then like his lineups has got to be better. And I think it starts with those two things that I just mentioned.
Yeah, to echo those sentiments, I actually would throw Desmond Bain in there as well. Like between Ja, Jaren, and Desmond Bain, like at least one of those 3 guys have to be out there at all times. Like it is, if not all 3, at the very least one at all times, regardless of what's going on. To Desmond Bain's point, it's amazing that he's worked on being able to put the ball on the floor, be able to drive to the rim. but I need your stat line looking like Luke Kennard's. Like Luke Kennard in the Denver game was 2 of 5, 2 of 4 from 3. Like I need majority of your shots coming from the 3-point line. That's probably one of the reasons why he's streaking. Maybe it's the game. Maybe it's how other teams are game planning him, running him off the line. But who knows? I need more threes shot from Desmond Bain. To your point about Luke Kennard, he's shooting the skin off the ball. So basically, he's been there. But yeah, it's just a matter of keeping between Ja, Jeremy, and Desmond Bain, keeping one of those three out there at all times. And if they got to play 40 minutes, let them play 40 minutes. Like at some point, you're going to have to take the training wheels off. Like with Jaren, at some point, you're going to have to start playing him at the 5. Like he's your best rim protector, and he can he can score on the other end. He can put it on the floor, can shoot 3, whatever. At some point, you're going to have to start playing him as your small ball 5. Like having him roaming around as a 4, that's going to eventually going to have to stop. Like if you have to play Ja 40 minutes tonight, and he just sit out the next night of a back-to-back, then so be it. But yeah, in the end, man, it's just I don't like this slated minutes thing. Like you just go based on the hot hand with everything for the Grizz, man. And yeah, in the end, just make sure that one of those three is out there at all times, because I hate it when neither one of them out there, and the only person they can quote unquote create a shot for themselves is Dillon Brooks, and we know you might as well just run back on defense if you have Dillon out there, the only one that's shot.
Ain't there some?
316.
Ain't there some?
So I mean, I'm being honest. I'm keeping it 100. I'm being 100% honest. So yeah, if you got to play your guys 40 minutes, man, play them 40 minutes. That's all I got.
Go ahead, Skyler. You about to say something?
Yeah, sorry, I could have waited, but no, I think Trevor just said something too, and I realized I don't see it that much either. Can we get Jaren more touches in the paint, please? Like, I think we mentioned this a couple weeks ago when they played the Bulls, and like that was a game where like there was absolutely no answer for Jaren, and I think Took, you know what I'm talking about. Like there was no answer for Jaren, and they got him the ball. Like I just like it's not too many people that like they can guard or they can stand toe to toe with Jaren. And I just feel like they've got to do a better job of like getting him the ball in the paint, getting him easier shots at the rim. Like it's sometimes like you'll see that, but then it's like a lot of times you don't see that at the same time. So I would like to see that as
well. In alignment with whatever we got, what we are all saying thus far, it's get rid of those analytics. Meaning I'm tired of, he can only play 31 minutes.
Oh, that ain't going to happen.
I know. But, I mean, the question – because you have to get rid of 31 minutes, because at what point are you going to see how these players can play for 37, 38 minutes when we have March right now? And it's March Madness in the Western Conference. And it's all about seeding. And then, we're going to get to these playoff games and what you're going to play – Ja 31 minutes or Triple J 31 minutes because that's what they say you should play him medically wise or whatever it may be. Hey man, scrap all that, to be honest. If you truly want to see yourself in the second round, it's going to take at least 38 minutes per game from a perennial defensive player of the year, from another defensive player of the year. I'll give you Dillon Brooks for that, I guess. And your true superstar, who is Ja Morant. And so you got to throw that way. If that means, which we've heard this already, if that means doing more, practices, ladies and gentlemen, then it might take some more practices so you know what it's like and, how to manage those above or north of 31 minutes, because that's atrocious. I don't even understand that. This team is not built to have – this team does not have a good enough bench to say, our star players are only going to play 31 minutes, and then we'll put in everyone else. We're not that good. No offense to Tyus and everyone else on the bench. I mean, we're paying Tyus $15 million, and some other players. Xavier Tillman's getting a couple million, maybe. I mean, he's getting less than the Polo in Miami. But anyways, I don't even want to go against that right now. We just got to play more than 31 minutes.
I had to think about it.
Now, real quick before 2 goes, hey, that's how injuries happen. Like the best way, if you're gonna make sure that you're 100% healthy going forward in the playoffs, like there's gonna be some nights where John, Jaren, and the rest of you guys gonna have to play 35 plus minutes. Like you can't just have them playing 30 minutes in the season and then all of a sudden in the playoffs you're just gonna ramp them up and they're playing 38 to 40 minutes. Like that's how injuries happen. Like if you actually practice and prepare yourself for these situations, that's why you have a long regular season so you can figure things out over the course of the season. But yeah, this has got to change. It's got to change.
Oh, my bad. So I really I'm having a hard time answering this question, Sharky, because we weren't able to bring anybody in the trade deadline. I've said this in earlier episodes of this year that we don't have a closer. We need a closer, and what I mean by that, ladies and gentlemen, is you drawing up a play for Ja Morant to get to the paint and hoping for a foul call with 3 seconds left. That's not working anymore. It isn't going to work in the playoffs. You asking me? I highly doubt it. So with Ja Morant and Dylan Brooks, let me quote Dylan Brooks, being the only people that are able to create their own shots, that's an issue, especially when both of them aren't too good at shooting jump shots. We just going to keep it above. So I think that's really the biggest issue is mainly Ross. I could say Taylor Jenkins drawing up the right play, but it's the matter of them actually executing it. So we can sit here and talk about, what the Grizz need to do, get into the fourth quarter, playing everybody else cool. But it's still the last minute of basketball, watching the Memphis Grizzlies is terrible. We can't even shoot free throws. So that's my thing. I think it's more so of a roster issue, and I think it's something that we're going to have to take care of over the summer because, like I told y'all earlier, I'm expecting us to lose in the first round. That's just me, especially on who we play, because we don't have that necessary for me, for my basketball eyes. We don't have a closer, and in the playoffs, you need one. So we're going to call a spade when the playoff comes.
And see, that's why I technically disagree with you on, because I believe Jaren Jackson, if he gets on the ball, call the play, get him the ball, can create his own shot. And most of the time he has a mismatch. And Taylor Jenkins, once again, Savage called the call 12 play. That's cool and all, but that's literally the only thing they do down the stretch.
So like, are you trusting Jaren Jackson Jr. in a one-on-one situation?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. I
need to see it. I need to at least see him get the opportunity.
The fact that you said we need to see it versus yes is my issue. You know what I'm saying?
But I think
if he has the matchup.
Yeah. My comeback to that is the Grizzlies are not trading for a closer. The players that we talking about, Mikal Bridges is not closer. OG Anunoby is not closer. So what you hypothetically want is probably not coming, because even your boy DeMar DeRozan in the playoffs,
bucket, bro. Just get somebody that can get a bucket. Get a bucket.
I haven't seen DeMar DeRozan. I haven't seen him close in playoffs. So even to that point, your closers that you want is Kevin Durant.
I want to say the way I say closer is somebody that can create their own shot. Ja Morant literally is the only person legit on this team that can make his own shot. Dylan Brooks, catch and shoot. Desmond Bane, catch and shoot. Jaren Jackson, catch and shoot. You know what I'm saying? Luke Kennard, all these players that catch and shoot, so you're dependent on Ja to pass when he trying to get to the rim at the end of the game. So that's what I'm saying. If you were to have one of those necessarily players you just said, it could be better for us in those situations.
Yeah, and I think those players also got to step up too, though, because I think in my opinion, Ja is the closer. Ja can be your closer, but I think what we've seen, and I mean I've seen this numerous times this year, where it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes left in the game, and Ja can get to the hole at will, but his problem is the lane is clogged, and so when he makes the pass to Desmond Bane or Dylan Brooks or to Jaren or people are making this
crush time.
Exactly. You've got to be able to. The reason Kevin Durant, I believe, granted, Kevin Durant is probably one of the better closers that we have, and so is Dame. But I think sometimes what helps them and allows them to be the closest that they are is sometimes you also have to put people around them to give them the space that they need. And Ja, in my opinion, does not get the space that he's supposed to have because people aren't showing up to work. There's too many times where you'll see somebody have a good first half or have a good quarter. But then when it comes to 3, 4, 5 minutes left in the game, who's there to stand with them? And when he comes off a high pick and roll, it's 4 people standing in the paint. Like, where you think you're finna go? And he'll still get there, but he's not always going to get those foul calls just because he's a smaller guy and he's Ja Morant, whatever the case may be. He also, and I think also Ja also has to do a better job of making free throws, but then also he has to do a little bit better job of finishing at the rim too. Like, I think he's good at the rim, but he could be better.
What was that? It was against Philly when he tried to dunk on Embiid. He could easily lay it in. Like, sometimes he tried to dunk on somebody when you ain't got to try to dunk on him. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time in the game, that wasn't the time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, to your point, Scott, that was a really, really good point. And going back to your point about other players stepping up, Desmond Bane scored 21 points in the first quarter of the Philly game and ended with 25. Like, that,
come on, man.
You got to finish with 40, bro.
There's no way you have 21 in the first quarter and you don't finish with 40.
So I actually didn't watch the game.
Absolutely no way.
My bad, Trey.
No,
I actually didn't watch the game. Was that a Desmond Bane problem or was that a coach problem? I actually didn't watch that game.
I think it could be both. I think he's both. I think you could have got him some better shots, but the shots that he did take and see, he didn't make them.
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. But yeah, I think just really, and going back over the injury, the minutes thing, I feel like they're spooked because Ja Morant got hurt in the postseason last year, and arguably that's why we continue to win and lose that series. That's kind of why they're doing their thing. But like y'all was saying, this is a game against no one seed in the Western Conference. On the road, you still were within striking distance of potentially getting the 1 seed before losing that game. Now you're probably out of it, but you still had a legit shot. And you was like, okay, I'm gonna play Ja Morant 31 minutes. Like, certain games, you got to go ahead and say, hey, we're going to go and push through and try and get this. That was the game to do that. Right. So, Scott.
Yeah, and I think one more thing for me. I think somebody said this on Twitter. I think Taylor Jenkins thinks or believes that he has the same bench from last year. And in saying that, he feels as if, okay, I can play Ja, Jaren, and Dez 35 minutes apiece. And I know at the end of the day, my bench is going to carry me. You don't have that same bench from last year. So again, meaning if your plan is to play Ja 35 minutes or play your starters 35 minutes, and again it's 75 all going into the full quarter, then we gonna have to up these minutes. Somebody's gonna have to touch 40 minutes. Sometimes, I think it was the Philly game where I saw Embiid, Harden, and I think Maxey all averaged like 40 something minutes. Meanwhile, our starters averaged like 33. I'm like, bro, what we doing? Automatically, regardless of how well you think your team is or is not, if my 5 or my top 3 is playing more minutes than your top 3, I should win the game, hands down. And that's what we keep saying.
Yep. And don't wait till you're down by 10 points to bring Ja Morant back in.
Thank you. Then the game gets out of hand even more. Thank you.
I promise you, I was about to turn the TV off. I only sat there and watched the rest because my wife decided to get a midnight snack. I was like, man, I was about to go to bed. Nah, she did. I was about to go to bed. She was like, I want to pop up and get something to eat, man. I'm like, God, but yeah, hilarious. But man, that doesn't, man. We just did 100 episodes. This is our 101st episode, part of a new network of Bluff City Media. So shout out to them, man. Shout out to us. Shout out to Starting 5 for keeping it rolling. I always remember to follow us on Twitter at Starting 5 and #5 MEM. That hasn't changed, but follow Bluff City Media at Bluff City _media. And Grizzly Bear Blues Twitter account still there, SBN __ Grizzlies. Also, SBN Grizzlies, no underscore. Also, Bluff City Media, Bluff City _media is on TikTok and IG as well as Twitter. So dropping content consistently every day for all the various podcasts that is on the network. Also, check out the articles at bluffcitymedia.co and sign up to be an insider with the coupon code Starting 5 for 10% off yearly subscription.
Come on, coupon. We got coupon codes.
No.
Oh,
we don't have coupon codes now. We're moving up in the world.
Yes, sir.
We got 2 for 1 deals out here. I love it. So do we get to be in the big coupon books that they used to have years ago? Does it follow? Hey, we got to bring them coupon books back.
Especially in this inflation.
Exactly.
Yeah, we need it these days. We really do. But of course, subscribe to Bluff City Media on YouTube as well. Check out the episode, subscribe, hit the notification button so you know when we drop it. Every single Monday is when we drop it. Every single Monday at 12 o'clock to be exact. So make sure y'all tune in every Monday at 12 o'clock. DC the views up. And follow me. You see it on the screen, but we are still audio, so I'm spelling it out on Twitter at @DaOne_P Shark.
Why does everybody have an underscore in their name on Twitter? But I'm at _ScottLeader on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm at the Art of Trevor. We on YouTube now, so I ain't got to tell y'all how it's spelled. It's right there now. So you should know your grammar.
It's really shitty.
At Tab Shakir, y'all.